Hello friends, welcome to Lawn Electrical. Here we are delivering our series of lectures on high voltage engineering. In this video we are going to discuss on high voltage engineering and its generation. Let's get on what actually high voltage engineering is. High voltage engineering is the engineering that are related to planning, operating and testing of high voltage electrical device and designing the installation coordinations so that the reliable and durable operation of electrical equipments and power system network can be achieved. For planning, operating and testing, we need sound research and high voltage. For this purpose, we first need to generate the high voltage, then we should be able to measure that high voltage, then we must test those generated high voltage on the electrical equipments. The generated high voltage might be high voltage DC or high voltage AC, or it might be impulse voltage. Similarly, here we will discuss on generation of impulse current also. Okay, let's move into the content. Generation of high voltage is related in the field of electrical engineering and in applied physics. In applied physics also, high voltage DC and impulse are required for several experiments. High voltage DC are generally used in electron microscope, X-rays, and in electrical engineering that high voltage DC are used to test the electrical apparatus. For example, in high voltage cable testing we use high voltage DC. Similarly, high voltage AC are used for testing our electrical power apparatus that are rated for extra high voltage and ultra high voltage transmission to simulate the over voltage in power system, that might be lightning over voltage or switching over voltage, that might be natural over voltage or system over voltage. To simulate those conditions, high impulse voltage are required for testing the equipments of power system network. Similarly, for power engineers, the main concern of high voltage is for the installation testing of various components in power system network. This test might be DC test, high voltage DC test, power frequency AC test, high frequency AC test, or switching or lighting impulse test. Okay, let's get into the classification of voltage levels. You can see laboratory configuration of high voltage lab. Similarly, you can see the classification of voltage level. The classification of voltage level and its difference in American and European system. The low voltage is termed up to 1000 volt in Europe. For distribution, 220 or 240 volt are used. Similarly, in US, 110 volt is used as a distribution voltage. Similarly, from 5 to 66 kilovolt it is known as medium voltage in Europe, and you can see the same for US. The high voltage in Europe is defined from 110 kilovolt to 220 kilovolt, and similarly in US 115 to 230 kilovolt. Extra high voltage is known for 275 kilovolt up to 800 kilovolt. Similarly, in US up to 765 kilovolt, it is known as extra high voltage. And for ultra high voltage in Europe, 1000 kilovolt is labeled as ultra high voltage. In next video, we will have discussion on DC high voltage generation. Okay, this much for today. Keep watching Lawn Electrical. Thank you. Please subscribe it to get updated on high voltage and electrical engineering. Thank you.